Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Garcia, and Mr. Yates is here as well. He's going to be our scribe for today's lesson. And so today's what we're going to be doing is we are going to be using your guys' shadow data that you guys have been collecting, going out and measuring your guys' shadows every day at noon or as close to it as you can get. And so today we're going to be showing you what you guys are going to be doing with that data. So we are going to be modeling something for you guys, and it's called a line graph. And you guys you might have seen them before, but we're going to show you guys how to make one, and then using that line graph, making observations from it. So for our example today, I have been doing a little bit of a science experiment myself. And, you know, due to this quarantine, it's been a little rough being inside all day, every day. So me and my family, we've been going out on either a hike or a walk. And so I've been taking one of these bad boys with me. So it is my handy dandy water bottle. And so every single day I have been recording how much of my water bottle I have been drinking, whether it is 1, half, 2, maybe. I've just been recording how many a day I've been drinking on that walk. So, you know, it's been getting hotter. So, all right. To start our line graph, boys and girls, you are going to want to get your data next to you as well. So just so you have it nice and handy. So you guys are going to start off by making both your X and your Y axis. Now the easiest way to do this is your Y axis is going to be your straight up and down line. And just like Mr. Yates is doing right now, use that red line on your piece of paper. It'll make your life a lot easier. And then for your X axis, it is the one that goes from left to right. Our X is where we, in my saying, I say, cut the grass, and then your Y is let it grow. And you guys can even label them. So at the top of your Y axis, label it Y, and at the end of your X, label it X, just so you guys don't get confused. So your number one thing that you guys do not want to forget when making a line graph is to always title it. This is a step that I always forget, so I always do it first. So for the title of this, you're going to, for mine personally, I labeled it Water Bottles I Drink, because gotta stay hydrated out there because it's getting warm. So, and just treat it like it's a title to make sure to capitalize your stuff, all the beginning letters. So water bottles I drink, perfect. So our next step is going to be, boys and girls, is we are now going to start with our x-axis, and we are going to be labeling our x-axis. So this is going to be days, and just like on your guys' data, this is where you guys are going to put your days as well, because you guys have been going out every single day. So that's what we're going to label that. And for my y-axis, I am going to be labeling it number of bottles, because this is going to be the amount of bottles that I drink. So, and just keep in mind as to what you would label your y-axis right here. So mine's going to be the number of bottles. What do you guys think that you guys should put there? So our next step for doing this is going to be, now we're going to be doing our actual units of increments on each axis. So for our x-axis, that's going to be our days. So I went on a walk or a hike every single day this week. So I started on the day of 4/20. And just like Mr. Yates is doing, if you guys have a ruler or maybe like a pencil or something to where you can kind of like make a mark as evenly as possible on each axis, just so your guys' increments are evenly spaced, so there's no squishies.
Ms. Garcia, how many marks should I make so I know I don't run out of space?
Oh, yes, sorry. So I went on for 7 days, so I need for 7 of them.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry, that was my bad. Should have told you that sooner. So you're going to need one of these increments for every single day that you guys have gone out and measured your shadow. So for my first day out for a walk or a hike was on the date of 4/20, and then the next day was 4/21, And then the next day was 422. And then it went all the way up to today, which is 426. So make sure that you guys have every single day that you guys went out and measured your guys's shadows.
I'm just going to go ahead and get an eraser because I made a little bit of a copy error here. So. All right.
Cool. All right. So now that we have our x-axis set, now we are going to be focusing on our y-axis, how many bottles I drank. So for this one, boys and girls, the max, so you'll want to see what your max amount was and count how many lines that you have as to what unit of increments you guys are going to do.
Okay.
Okay, so we had to pause the video because I got reminded to share my data. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share with you guys. Oh, just kidding. I can't screen share. But so my data, you can't really see it, but so my data is right here. So I did mine in
Aubrey, hold on. Okay.
All right, sorry about that, boys and girls. We had to pause the video because I realized I couldn't screen share because we're using the dot camera. So I had to email my data table to Mr. Yates. So I typed mine, but you guys in no way, shape, or form had to type your guys's. Your guys's can be handwritten somewhere in a notebook or something or on a piece of paper. So I recorded for every day that I went on a hike or a walk. So I put all my dates right there. And then, so for our y-axis, we are going to be using the numbers that are going to be listed underneath on the data table where it says bottles of water. So those are all the amounts of bottles of water that I drank. So the 1.5, the 2, the 2.5, and so on. So we're going to be using all of that to try and figure out, okay, let's put this on the y-axis and figure out what the best way to do that would be. So looking at these numbers, I'm thinking that the best way to do this is going to be by half increments. And what I mean by that, boys and girls, is so on our y-axis, you always want to start with the very bottom left-hand corner being 0, because that will be your starting point. So our bottom one is going to be 0. So then on your next line is going to be, we're going to go ahead, since we're doing half increments, we're going to go ahead and write 1/2. And then our next line up, we're going to go ahead and do 1. And we're going to go ahead and just count by halves. So then after 1 comes 1 and 1/2. And then 2. And then 2.5. 3.
Oh. Your David table goes a lot higher than I expected, so I need to change this up a little bit.
Yeah, I've been really forcing myself to drink water. It's a real issue that I don't actually.
Hydrate or dihydrate?
I have never heard that before, but that's a good one that I need to live by a little bit more because I'm always getting yelled at to drink more water. So, and if you guys have to, just like Mr. Yates is doing, you guys can always just extend it up as well, to that in case you don't have enough room. So there is going to be our y-axis, which is going to be the number of bottles that I drank each time I went out. So now our next step for creating a line graph is going to be, we are going to plot each one of our values. So one where it says bottles, where it says the 1.5, the 2, the 2.5, all of the number of bottles that I drank, we're going to place that and line it up. So we are going to start with the.
I'm going to resume.
Okay, so for plotting our values on our line graph is we are going to be taking the numbers of bottles of water that I drank, so the 1.5, the 2, and the 2.5, and so on. So we're going to start by looking at the date 4/20. That was the first day that I went on a hike. So on your guys' line graph that we made, you're going to go ahead and go to the date 4/20, or whenever you guys put, because your guys' is going to be a little bit different than mine. So we found the 4/20, just like Mr. Yates is pointing to, and then I drank 1.5 bottles of water that day. It's kind of a sad amount, but it's okay. So then you're going to go ahead and, staying aligned with your 4/20, go straight up and put a dot lining up on your x-axis, on your y-axis, on your y-axis that matches that 1.5. And then you're going to go ahead and put a dot right there.
All right.
Just like Mr. Yates did. So that dot is showing that on 4/20, remember, which is our x-axis, so we cut the grass, and then on that date 4/20, I drank 1.5 water bottles, and then you let it grow. So that is going to be our first plot. So now we're going to go ahead and plot the rest of the data the same exact way. So next is on the date of 4/21, I drank 2 bottles of water. So then I'm going to go and look on my graph, and on my x-axis find the 4/21. And I'm going to go ahead and then match it up with my y-axis of 2 water bottles. So find that 2 and go straight up, just like Mr. Yates is showing you guys with his annotations, and go ahead and plot your dot right there. Now, boys and girls, yours is going to look different than mine because, you know, you guys are doing your shadow, but you guys are going to do the same exact process. So then, now we got our date of 4/21 done. Now we're going to move on to the date of 4/22. So I drank 2.5 water bottles on this day. So then we want to go ahead, find our 4/22 on our graph that we made, and find 2.5 on our y-axis, which is the number of water bottles that I drank. And we are going to go ahead and plot a dot right there. Remember, just like Mr. Yates is doing, go straight up and match it, just like kind of like this. So perfect. So now that we got the date of 4/22 done, we're going to go ahead and go to the date of 4/23. This day I didn't drink any more, but I did drink 2.5 water bottles. So we're going to find our 4/23 on our x-axis that we made, and we are going to find 2.5 once again, going straight up. And it doesn't have to be in no means a perfectly straight line up, just make sure that it's not right next to your next dot to where you guys get confused. So we're going to match that up with the 2.5, and then we're going to go ahead and plot a dot. Then on to the dates of 4/24. So on this day, hey, I drank a little bit more. I drank 3 water bottles on this day. So we want to go ahead and find the date of 4/24 on our x-axis that we made, and we want to go ahead and find our 3 on our y-axis. And just like Mr. Yates is doing right now, he found the 3 on the y-axis, so go straight up from that 4/24 on our x-axis, match it up with our 3, and we are going to go ahead and plot a dot. Perfect. All right, we're almost there. So our next date is going to be 4/25.
I'm going to zoom out. Okay.
Oh, okay. So then I drank 4.5 water bottles. It must have been quite hot that day. Definitely got into the triple digits this week. So we have our 4.5. So we want to find the date of 4/25 on our x-axis. Remember, it's the one on the bottom. Cut the grass. And then we want to let it grow all the way up to our 4.5 on our y-axis.
Uh-oh. But that's okay. We can always move the title later.
Good thing we did it in pencil, and I really recommend doing it in pencils, boys and girls, just because If you do make a mistake, it's easy to erase and fix that mistake.
Uh-huh.
So then we found our 425, and we want to go up and match it to our 4.5, and we are going to go ahead and plot a dot. Just like so. And then on 426, I was very proud of myself this day. I got to 5 water bottles of 32 ounces. That's pretty good. All right, so we want to go ahead and match that date up with 426 and on our x-axis, and then we want to go ahead and go all the way up to 5 on our y-axis and go ahead and plot our dot right there. Just like so. Awesome. So now that we have all of our data plotted on our graph, the next part is my favorite part of making a line graph. It reminds me of the game Connect the Dots. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to connect all of our dots in a line. So you're going to go just like Mr. Yates is doing. We're going to connect our 1.5 to our 2 to our 2.5. Just connect all of them. And if you guys have a ruler, that's a really good tool to do this, but you by no means have to use a ruler. And so there is going to be our finished line graph, just like so. So when you guys make your guys' line graph, make sure that you guys have all of these components. You guys have your title, your x-axis labeled with all of your dates with even increments, and then have your y-axis. And then make sure that your y-axis has all of your even increments as well. Make sure that you guys start with 0 at the bottom. And make sure that you guys label both your x and your y-axis. Now remember, your x-axis is going to be similar to mine. You guys are going to have your dates right there. But your y-axis is going to be a little bit different. So just keep in mind what you would maybe put on your y-axis. Mine was the number of water bottles that I drank. So now that we know how to make a line graph, boys and girls, now we are going to use that line graph to make observations. Now observations are things that you notice on the line graph. So looking at my personal line graph from the amount of water bottles that I drank going on walks or hikes, one thing that I noticed is that there is an overall increase in the amount of water bottles that I drink. So it's how you know that it's increasing is just like Mr. Yates did with his annotation. Reading it from left to right, the line increases. Now it's not a direct increase like his annotation does, but it gradually gets there. I had to build it up a little bit, you know, can't just go from 0 to 5. But over the days of the week, I did drink more water. So an observation that I could say is I drank more water as the week went on. So there's an observation that I made that I made based off my line graph that I made as well from the data. So boys and girls, this is what we want you guys to do. We want you guys to take your data that you have gathered from going out and measuring your guys' shadow and make a line graph out of it. And then once you guys have your line graph, we want you guys to make an observation. And it doesn't have to be just one observation. It can be several observations. If you guys make more observations, that's great. And so we want you guys we are going to have a link on the agenda for you guys to make a flip grid. So we want to see your guys' data. Show us your data that you've created. And then also show us your line graph that you made as well with all of the components. Let us know what you titled it. And then we want you guys to, we're going to have a form via Microsoft Forms for you guys to fill out, telling us what your guys' observations are. So that is going to be it for our lesson today. I can't wait to see what you guys put together with your line graph and see all your data from all your hard work, all your observations, or your measuring of your shadows. And that's going to be it. Thanks, boys and girls.